I kind of wonder how anyone can get the game finished or shipped.
Oh, I want to make money. It's like not good enough. Why are you doing this? And it needs to be much more impactful, you know, a spray and pray type of mentality of just getting stuff out there.
At least it's a better business than webcomics.
I think we are even better friends now than when we started.
Awesome. Okay, so we got, and we've already been over this, and I don't want to butcher it, Arttu and Oskar from
Perfect.
Finland that are making Paradigm Island. This is a game that I saw on Reddit that I thought was very interesting. I think one of the things that actually caught me when I was first scrolling, and I didn't say this when I first talked to you guys, was your menus caught me. Like I was scrolling around, I was like, whoa, those are, I don't know why, but the way it just artistically looked really, really interesting and cool. And I really liked your guys' menus when I first saw it. And then I saw more about your game and I thought it was such a unique idea. So obviously I wanted to have you guys on, and thank you for humoring me and being on the show. So I'll give you guys both kind of an opportunity just to talk about your guys' how you guys met each other and how long you've been doing this, and just a little bit of an intro for each of you. So go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Well, first off, thanks for having us and thanks for the kind words. So I'm Oskar. I'm the writer and 3D modeler and sound guy, and what else do I do? Some game design. There's a lot of hats.
Yeah, definitely. And hey, my name is Arttu, and I'm the technical lead, and I do all the technical stuff that we have there in Paradigm Island. And we are the founders of Endol Entertainment, which is the name of our studio.
When you were coming up with the idea to make this game, like what was like, that's a great idea, let's run with this?
Paradigm Island started as an idea for a webcomic. So that was my original idea for it. And I guess that's where the comic style look comes from originally, on the idea that it was meant to be a webcomic done by me. But then I guess we were on our way to some party with common friends and we talked about all kinds of shit. And well,
yeah,
somehow we decided to make it into a game since we had the kind of skill set combined to do a game. So I guess we just thought, why not make a game? At least it's a better business than webcomics. Sorry, webcomics guys, if you're listening to this, but
yeah,
it's probably true though. Like, unfortunately,
yeah,
I don't know too many people that, I mean, I don't know how big the audience is. Sorry, let me be more better about that. I don't know how big the audience really is for a webcomic, but obviously you jump on Steam and now you have a massive platform to market and expose and get that exposure. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Totally.
Arttu.
Yeah, but yeah, I guess we met at some like university party somewhere, and then I think it was we were going to an art gallery actually, and then Oskar was like, "Hey, guess what? I have this kind of webcomic idea, and you know how to code, right? Maybe we should like let's make this into a game. That would be cool." And then it was just like brainstorming what kind of game. Like the story was set, or like the framework of the story was set before we started to like actually making it into a game, and then we were figuring out what kind of game it was, and that's how we ended up like this Disco Elysium like narrative adventure role-playing game. And I'm pretty like glad that we ended up with this kind of game that's like really slow-paced, single player, and there isn't like really complex mechanics outside of the like dialogue and all the branching stuff, because like we thought this would take so much like less time than this has actually done, like took this far. But yeah,
I guess we had some things wrong about the like idea that we'll just make a Disco Elysium game because that has less mechanics and it's easier to make. But I guess we didn't quite understand that if you're making a text-based game, you have to write all the dialogue, and like the content has to be made second by second, because there are no real game mechanics almost. Like every inch of the content has to be made by hand. So that's been rough, but also very rewarding, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I assume your game is in, it's obviously in English, but I'm assuming it's also in Finnish, or what are the other languages that people, because it's obviously all dialogue based. So like what other languages are this coming out in?
Well, right now it's just English because it's surprisingly costly to translate a game if it's like 200,000 words.
Yeah.
For a team this small, because we are like me and Arttu are the owners of the company, and we have like three guys besides us. So with this kind of budget and resources, I'm not sure if it even is possible to translate the whole game.
Yeah, that's true. And even though we could like use our own time to translate it into Finnish, like there is like 6 million people in Finland, so it's a pretty small country, and everybody knows how to speak English and prefer usually like playing games in English. So we were like, I don't know if we should put our like own time into that, but
Yeah, maybe realistically after launch it could be possible with the income from the launch
yeah,
to have a
hopefully income,
translation. Yeah. But otherwise,
So is this
it's gonna be hard.
Yeah. Is this your guys' first like full marketed game, or have you guys made, like, I know you said originally this was supposed to be like a web comic, but before Paradigm Island, what was there for you guys? Like, what have you guys done before this?
Yeah, I think we were both students when we started this, and I worked in the movie industry for a bit as a 3D modeler, characters and environments, but not games. Like, yeah, this is our first commercial game.
yeah. I also have like I graduated from like IT studies as a web developer, so I knew how to like code, but like nothing with games. And it was like we had the skill sets, but like not quite there. So it took a lot of like practicing, at least in the beginning.
Yeah, I think like the first 6 months of the development was very much us just figuring out Unity, like how to do the basic stuff. Because even though I've
I
done
was just
like
about to ask
3D
what
stuff.
you guys are building it in.
Yeah, Unity, because I think we had some experience with Unity from school. At least I had, because we had some courses where we made some little games as school projects, and we made those in Unity. So
yeah, same. I had one like game making course like 5 years ago, and it was in Unity. So we had both opened the program. So we were like, okay, there's so much tutorials with Unity, and we have actually touched it before. So let's make it with this one.
Yeah, it was the most familiar. So that's why there's not much else behind the decision.
Yeah,
I'm so jealous because I can already tell that I'm like older than you guys in the sense of like you guys actually had a gaming class or you were able to play with Unity in college, where my college gaming class consisted of doing 3ds Max and then them giving me a book and said figure it out, and I went, oh, okay. Like that was the extent of any sort of gaming type of learning in college when I was going through it. And so all these programs before, it just wasn't any access. It was like, and YouTube it was not even really a thing. So as far as like tutorials and courses and stuff like that, there just wasn't much out there unless you went to a bigger college that was specifically offering game design or something like that, or you found some sort of internship with like, I was in Southern California. So like Blizzard was like in my backyard basically. And so like they had some stuff where they would like, reach out to the community and things like that. But like it's just wild to me to see how much more focused colleges and things like that or universities have put into offering game development as a actual career path for kids and younger people at this point. And I'm jealous. They're like, here's 3ds Max. Figure out how to use that. I'm like, isn't there more to this? They're like, yeah, you can code. Here's C++. You're like, yo, C++ is not easy.
I'm glad it's I'm not sure if the word is gatekeep it, but I'll use it anyway. Like it's less gatekeep it or like hard to get into these days, which I'm glad, because I'm not the guy to like learn stuff on my own that much. It's too like boresome or tiresome. So I'm glad that we had it in school to get over the starting phase, like getting used to the program, because that's the part I hate most, like opening a new program and starting to figure out where everything is. So I'm glad school got me over that.
Yeah.
Arttu, how did you start programming? What did you start learning as far as programming language and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, like when I got into the University of Applied Sciences, where I went, like I hadn't coded like almost anything before. I was like, okay, what should I do now that I've graduated college? I think it's like the same age group that the
or high school.
yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know what college even is.
I think high school is Lukio.
Yeah, it could be. But anyway, when I got to the university, I hadn't coded before, and I was like, okay, what should I do now? I like computers, or like I like playing games, so maybe I should do something with computers. And then I got there and started coding, like mainly in Java or Java. I don't know how to pronounce it, and then HTML and some C classes, but not that much C# that we're using right now. So it was also a bit of a learning experience, even though like I knew how to make web like applications. But yeah, like there was some learning, but still it's like it's kind of familiar. If you know one language, then it's easier to like adopt a new one.
Well, especially with C#, like I'm a terrible coder. I'm definitely not by trade. C++ one I want to absolutely not. And then I have slowly introduced, because we're making our game in Unity as well, and so this has kind of been my first relative introduction to C#. And I did a little bit of Python. I've done a little bit of Python and stuff like that, but that's just scripting. That's just like, I want this, give me anything. You know what I mean? It's so simple. But C# is, I don't know if this is the right word, and I might get flamed for it. It feels more user friendly, if that makes sense. Like it feels like more approachable as a language.
I got the same feeling when I started using it, like for the first time.
Yeah, it's
go into the like depths, but still.
Yeah, no, for sure. I really do like it, and which is obviously, I feel like most things are moving in that direction. As far as even, I mean, Unity is obviously a big deal when it comes to C#. So, you guys are the owners of the company. How big is your guys' team under you guys?
What is it right now? 5, 6?
I was 4 or 5 at this moment.
It tends to move around quite a bit because we are bootstrapping, and
right.
Some people actually need to get jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been, I wouldn't say a struggle, but it has been something that we had to get used to, like people coming and going, and we can't really blame them for that. But now it's 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Did you guys do? You guys just did this recent Steam Fest, is that right?
No, we're actually doing that one like in June, I think.
Oh, perfect. Perfect.
Yeah, that's what we got recommended, to pick the Steam Fest that's closest to the launch.
Yeah.
So we kind of went with that advice.
And how has been the response so far, even just with like the demo that you guys have put out? Have you guys had many downloads, game time played? Like, how has it been?
I think
pretty okay. I think like the median time of like the demo played is like around like 30 minutes, which is pretty good in my opinion, at least, since we can like browse through it in like 10 minutes. Yeah. But still, if like people take the time to play it, and not a lot of people who start the demo like drop it after the couple of first minutes. So usually people at least go to the 10-minute mark. So I think that's a pretty good sign. But there hasn't been that many like downloads. It's under 1,000, but still, I think it's like it's had a good like feeling, or like good, I don't know what's the word, like response from the community, at least that we have like gotten to hear.
Yeah, there haven't been that many players, but the ones that have played it have liked it. So that's encouraging. But I think we're just now kind of transitioning into the mindset where we start to push the game out. Even that the demo has been out, but now we're actually getting ads out there and shouting about the game, which we should have started earlier, but later. Better late than never, right?
Yeah.
That's how marketing is, right? It's always like you start it and you're like, I should have been doing this years ago, even though you haven't, you know what I mean? I'm being facetious, but it's like, it's one of those things you're like, oh, I should have been doing this a while ago, because one of the marketing, I've used this analogy, or this, I've told people this so many times. It's like, you don't know, like, as far as when putting content out there for really anything that you're trying to promote, you don't know really what's going to take off or what people are going to grab onto. And it's really just like a spray and pray type of mentality of just getting stuff out there. And, but it's one of those things that's like, you don't know what's going to go viral. And that one thing that does go viral literally makes up for like all of your marketing efforts. So it's
Yeah.
like, but if you're not doing that spray and pray, you're never even gonna get the chance to have that quote unquote virality. And it's
Yeah.
like that's the chase, kind of, is like trying to get that that one thing. Like for you guys, I can imagine, like, if a streamer were to pick it up, like a relatively decent audience streamer, then it'd be like, oh, guys would probably see this like massive spike, and it would
Yeah.
just be like, there it is. You know what I mean? It'd be great. And also it's like, one of the things I wanted to ask, like, what is your guys' like target? Like, who's the audience that you guys are trying to market? Because for me, it kind of looks like a little bit of a, I don't want to use this derogatorily, kind of a cozy gamer in a way. But like, what's the market specifically that you guys are looking for?
I think it's for the people that like these kinds of text-based games, like Discoilism. Like, I think the people that like that game are like the closest that we could see people playing this. But I think it's kind of a challenge with this game because it looks pretty cozy, but it's the game itself, at least I don't find it that cozy. It's pretty dark at times and like pretty nasty. But in
You
terms
should
of
see some
like
of the
target,
books my wife reads. She finds them
Yeah.
cozy, and I'm like, what the hell? Or like
Yeah.
the shows she watches. She watches like murder and stuff like that. I'm like, what are you doing? She's like,
yeah,
anyway, I digress. But that's cozy to some people, is
Yeah.
like really
Yeah.
you're like, this is too much. This is not cozy. I'm hyperventilating.
yeah. Well, I guess now that you say that, I guess in those terms it is cozy because it doesn't need you to use your reflexes, or like you can just sit back and play the game. So in those terms, it is cozy. Like for people that don't want to be in a hurry and just want to sit back and play a game that doesn't challenge them that much in terms of like learning game mechanics or something like that. And we've had this idea along the way that's kind of a, I guess you could call it a game pillar, where we have talked that you should be able to play the game with a coffee cup in hand, like from start to finish, just with one hand and like your feet on the table.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I like what's kind of neat, unique, and kind of cool about something I kind of like stands out about your game is like, I'm not sure you guys have this is how, hold on, let me rephrase this for a second. Do you guys have something next planned? Obviously, this is like, you're like, no, I'm focused on this and get this done. But like, I can see this, you reusing a lot of what you've built
Yeah,
for
definitely.
something else. And so like, have you guys thought of that while building that? I think that's the best way I could try to ask that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we have. We don't have a concrete plan, but we have different ideas, and then of course we need to check how this game goes. If this like blows up or something, of course we can make more content on this one or on this like world. But like at least we are planning on doing some narrative type of games after this one also, and using as much as we can. There's still like, we need to check out which of these projects that we have been like cooking up will be the next one, like the proper one, but still we have thought about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of ideas, and we'll definitely use as much of this stuff we've built up for the next game, so we can actually focus on the stuff that needs focusing on. So definitely a narrative-based game, so we can kind of pick this genre and get really good at it, instead of just picking something else and then something else and not ever kind of getting really good at it. So I guess that's our plan, like to master the one genre.
And it's smart because, like I was just saying, like reusing a lot of, obviously code wise, if you make another one, I mean, you've basically built the foundation of the code, and now you're just swapping assets at that point, you know, in a way, right? And then adding new dialogue and things like
Yeah.
that. And it, your production time goes from, you know, you guys have been at this for about 2 years, right?
Yeah.
So almost in half potentially, and for something new or extra.
Yeah, exactly. And I think one of the things that we didn't kind of consider with this project is that how much of the stuff you have to do is not the dev stuff, like actually making the game, but just marketing and all that other stuff. So to have much of the mechanics done for the next game, we can focus on not only the development, but all the other stuff you have to do when you put out a commercial game. So
Yeah.
that's definitely been one of the big learnings of this.
Yeah, we actually need to run a company like with the game, making the game. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
And did you come up, Oskar? Did you come up with all the art? Not only the 2D but also the 3D. Did you do all of that, or did you have like your the people that you brought in every so often to help you do that?
Yeah, so no, I haven't done all the art and not even a big portion of it. I guess you could call me an art lead, so I have the big picture in my head, and
Got it.
we've had quite a lot of artists in this project to help out. So I've done much of the 3D modeling, but not so much of the 2D art that's there. Like the original character designs were mine, though they've changed quite a bit from what they were originally. But now
When
I
you guys
try
were
to
coming-
focus more on the writing.
When you came up with the story and narrative, is it in I know with like film or scripts like that, sometimes it's an exaggeration of personal experience sometimes. Is this
Mm.
a little bit of an exaggeration of some personal experience? Or is this just like like a story you just wanted to tell?
Yeah, I guess it's the latter. Like, at least I don't. If it is, I don't know it is. So it's just a story I wanted to tell. And at the time that it kind of popped in my head, I was in this YouTube rabbit hole where I watched like 1,000 videos on African mercenaries back in the 60s and 50s.
Oh wow.
So that's kind of the spark for the idea, like the craziness that went on around the world at that time, where there was all of these mercenary groups roaming the earth, doing God knows what, and only some of it was documented. So that's kind of the where the idea got sparked.
Has this game found its way kind of like out of scope a little bit? And you like, I know you guys are in your home stretch right now. And is that a lot of like, okay, we really got to reel this thing back in, and you guys realize you kind of started to fall, or is it kind of dialed in, like you know what is going to be in the game at this point, or are you guys still just trying to figure out, okay, we got to either cut or finish?
Yeah.
yeah, I think like we have like done the cutting to this point. Like we realized somewhere along the way, like, okay, this isn't going to be a 15-hour long game. Like all these like ideas, we need to like really condense them and scrap a lot of things. And now we are pretty certain what will be the end content, and we still need to just do it. And now that we have been doing the content, we can also like check like, okay, this amount of game time took this amount of like work time, so we can like be pretty sure that we can do the story that we want to do like at this point.
Yeah, but it definitely got out of scope, and it's
Yeah.
been going back and forth, like where we add stuff, and then a month later we are like, this can't actually be done with the resources we have, and then go back. But yeah, there's been a lot of cutting, definitely. And also, even though we have like the main things locked down, at least I tend to find it so that when I write the content, I constantly like find out that some things may not work when they're actually put in the game. So it tends to change along the way, but the main things are there.
So how has it been managing the company with you guys as far as divvying up the business aspect of things, like the project management, the marketing, all of the things that it takes to actually run the business? How has that been, and how's that kind of affected your guys' relationship? Because I'm assuming you guys were friends before you guys
Yeah.
decided to come in and marry each other in a company.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess it
Yeah.
hasn't been that bad for us so far. Of course, we
That sounds
like,
promising.
yeah,
It hasn't been bad, but
yeah, because there's not that much money going through the company yet, so it doesn't take that much work yet. But it will get like rougher as long as if the company gets bigger, then it's gonna get more challenging. But as of now, it's not that crazy, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's not that crazy. It takes still a lot of time, like doing all the like necessary documents that you need, at least in Finland, to have a business. Like yearly, you need to do all the tax reports and all kinds of like whatever you need to do. But still, I think we are even better friends now than when we started. So I think it's still a good thing. Like, because usually people say don't start a company with friends, like it will turn to shit. But still, like so far it's going great. And
Yeah.
we kind of like have like found our own roles, like in running the business, like that fits our personalities, that we don't step on each other's toes that much. Like sometimes, of course, when we're like, hey, okay, hey, I don't know, are you sure about that one? But still,
Yeah.
like I think it's going pretty smoothly.
Yeah. And in terms of like project management, that's been something we've had to learn along the way, because this was so small when we started, and then as people have been coming in, we really had to like step up our game on that and like actually making documentation and like getting things structured.
Yeah, like the project management previously was just like, okay, me and Oskar, we both have the big picture in our head. But if there's somebody just comes to the joins the project after a year, they have no idea what we've been like talking about for a year, and that has been like one of the biggest things that we learned, that we actually need to really like I don't know, document everything. So if somebody comes in, they like realize all the ideas, all the like inspiration. So all the work that they do like feels much more like meaningful, to be able to like, okay, this fits this like story, and this is like this because of that thing, and not like, okay, some like art lead comes and says, okay, this doesn't fit, and they don't understand why that doesn't fit the thing. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's been a struggle to learn.
That's so good. I can relate just personally on the game I'm working on. I'm spoiler alert, I'm also working with one of my best friends, and it's great because me and him have played Dungeons and Dragons forever. So like when we come up with like really creative, wild ideas, like we are like just going for it, and we can just really be creative. But then when it comes to like when we don't agree, it's like we want to cut each other's throat, is what we say. And so, but
Yeah.
I really like what you just said there as far as documenting everything. So when new people come in, they can understand why things are the way they are. And that was kind of a little bit of an issue with like when because I came into the game that I'm working on with my friends. I was doing other stuff, and then they asked me to come in and work on other aspects of the game. But when I came in, I was challenging things because I didn't know why things were the way they were. But in the same breath,
Yeah.
they didn't have anything documented. And they were just like, well, why wouldn't you know that? Like, this is the way it is. And I think it's so important, man. You just basically like, well, they didn't have anything documented or have an expressed reason on why it's the way it is. And so I think that's just, it's a key point whenever you're bringing new people in, on how important it is to keep documentation or just like I don't even know what you would call it exactly, but just like a game Bible. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
this is the game, and this is the reason we're making the game. This is why the game looks the way it is and where we're going with it. And I think it's so important to have that. So when people come in, they can, one of two things, either buy into that and be like, great, that's awesome, let me fit in. Or it's like, well, this is really out of my comfort zone, and this isn't something that I actually want to work on.
Mm.
At least having that up front instead of getting them in to have that friction, I think is so key. And I really like that point that you just made.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I've had
And
struggles
yeah.
with that.
Yeah, and like Arttu said, I think it's brings so much more out of the team also, where people kind of find more meaning in the work, into the work that they do. So it's like Arttu said, not just art lead telling to do stuff, but you actually understanding why it needs to be done the way it needs to be done.
The why it's like the why behind the reason, I think is
Yeah.
a good pointer, a good way to look at that. And
Yeah.
I come from, as trade, I come from like the business world and stuff like that. Aspiring creative person my whole life, finally made the massive jump to just dive all the way into it. But in business, it's so like it's like second nature. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, why are you doing this? And then there's, someone's like, oh, I want to make money. It's like, not good enough. Why are you doing this? And it needs to be much more impactful than just, I'm trying to make a buck. It needs to be like, I'm trying to help somebody. I'm trying to do this. It's a much greater reason on why. And I like the why behind you do something is so important. I feel like it gets lost with a lot of people. And it's cool that you guys are a new studio and you're putting those fundamentals in,
Yeah, and we've been like we had some mentors, or we've had mentors along the way telling us this, but I think it really took for us to start on it, that we actually like ended up on a situation where things were getting out of hand without it. So I'm glad that we are in a timeline like that. We have deadlines and actually have to figure out ways to like get things done fast. So it forced us to learn these things.
Without it, it creates such unnecessary friction,
Yeah.
without it, and it's, you don't realize without when you don't have it. And, one of the things I always struggled with was I was trying to pull that out of them. And it was just a little bit of a learning curve. Like I said, I come from the business world and I've been doing it for such a long time. This has been, and there's game design and game development isn't just like making a piece of art. It's not like making a painting or something like you're like, I need to make a piece of art and I need to bring in a bunch of creative people, musicians, artists, tactile, all the coders, all of these different things. And it's just, game design's hard. It's tough, man.
Yeah, I've said it 1,000 times that the more we do this stuff, the more I kind of wonder how anyone can get a game finished or shipped. It's just a so like changes like big thing to do, but somehow people pull it off.
Yeah, it's so rewarding when you do. I know, like,
Yeah.
just in past experience, finishing and completing and seeing something up there that people can actually consume and give feedback on is so rewarding. It's just like, I mean, I feel like that's the reason we do it, is just when you make something, I want people to kind of dive a little bit into my head and see where I was going with this and think it was cool. In the
Yeah.
same breath, if they hate it, then you're like, okay, well then I guess I'll do something different. And because there's always that aspect of it too. It's like, hey, this is this really cool thing that I worked really hard for 2 years on, 2+ years on. What do you think? I hate it. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, that sucks. That sucks.
Yeah. Though I feel like if you're making a game for 2 years, you shouldn't end up in a situation where after 2 years you find out people hate it, because I think that's one thing that we've been told to do a lot also, like just game test all the time to actually see if there is something that people like. So you're not just betting on the game being good.
I watched a documentary, but just it was a very big philosophy with Valve when making Half-Life and all of their early games. They would make a very small portion of the game, like a very small portion of it, and they would just every time they made a little something of the game, they would game test it, and they
Yeah.
would do that every time, and then so that way they had, immediate feedback on if what they're doing is going in the direction that makes sense or that people are going to like. And I thought that was really interesting, which was their philosophy is like test often as much as you can, as
Yeah.
no matter what state your game is in, you need to test. Guilty, we have not tested nearly enough. We've had a lot of internal issues because our game is a multiplayer. So it's like we've had a lot of like just network issues that we're trying to work out, bugs, but also just in general, we want things to kind of be a little bit more cohesive. And also a lot of the issue that we had is just trying to also just get players to get in and play the game together at the same time, and then give critical or, decent feedback from that. So when we decided to make our game, we decided to go super hard mode. We'll see if it pays off.
Yeah, and it can be kind of brutal also to when you game test, you put something out that's not polished, and it feels super bad to get like negative feedback on the stuff you haven't polished, and then just trying to take it in without trying to explain why it's not polished.
Yeah.
It's super hard.
It reminds me of in movies. I don't know if they do this in Finland, but in the States, they'll do like pre-screenings where like they'll show you the movie before the movie's really released. And I remember I saw, this is so stupid. I saw the original, the G.I. Joe movie, like the live action G.I. Joe movie. I saw the pre-screening for that, and all of the visual effects weren't done. So like you're watching it and you're just like, it looked, like they're supposed to, I mean, it's G.I. Joe. The whole thing's basically a visual effect. And so like you're watching it and it just looks like, it looks so silly. And I could hear people going, it's like, why does it look like that? This is like so bad. I'm like, it's a pre-screening. The movie doesn't come out for like 6 months. You know what I mean? They're trying to test and see if anyone's going to like it. But it's that same philosophy as like, we're testing. Like, and that's, what's your guys' philosophy when it comes to the demo? Should it be the demo is like a full, very hyper polished version of the game, or is it more of an opportunity to kind of test And are there aspects of it that shouldn't be polished, or what is your philosophy when it comes to the demo?
Yeah, I think it's like both of those things. Like it depends on the demo. Like we have done demos where it's like really unpolished, and the point is to test some feature or something out, and then there's like the demo on our Steam page, which is like, okay, we try to have like our marketing call to action be go play the demo and have that as polished as possible, like as a vertical slice type of thing, so that it can be a proof of concept for people. Like, okay, this is really good. This looks really good. I like the story, and they will wishlist it and all that. So I think we have done both, and it really depends on like what we are trying to achieve with the demo. Like if we try to test out the story, or if we try to test out the features, or if we just like want to showcase what we can do. And it's, yeah, I think that's the answer.
Yeah. I feel like the demo on Steam is our kind of marketing piece, as well as it is a demo and something to people to try out, but it's supposed to like represent what the game will be as a whole in terms of like mechanics and
Yeah, it's like a breadcrumb, you want them to want more. I
Yeah.
feel it's like you give
Yeah.
them just enough to be like, this was great. I want more. I want to do this. I want to do more of this. And so that's, I feel like if you can have that feeling after you play if you put out a demo and the players feel like that is what you achieve, I feel like that is, you've hit it. You did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I want more of that. Okay, great. Well, buckle up because it's be here soon.
Yeah. And I feel like it was also necessary for us to make kind of a vertical slice of the game, because like we said, we haven't put out any like big commercial game. So like as much as is it for people to kind of get a taste of the game, it's also for us kind of a proof that we can make more of this thing, that now we have a slice of the game that's kind of ready and looks like something that could ship. So then we know that we can make it, and then we just have to make more of it.
During that testing process, when you guys were like early phases of the game, did you guys have to just go like completely change course at any point and be like, we needed to completely change the art or anything like that?
Well, at least in terms of what's the word, like level design, because we have this like isometric camera. Like there were parts that people just didn't kind of recognize as paths, or they didn't know where to go. So I think we've done the oil rig that is in the demo twice over because of that. Because we didn't kind of realize that how to make game levels so that it's easy to read and takes you where the game wants you to go.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't think we have had like total like shifts of like focus that okay, we need to do complete opposite. We have just recognized that okay, we need to polish this or like change this, even though it's still the same thing. It's like now more refined version, and our like game UI, like the dialogue UI that is there, like that's one of the things that it's always been the same layout. But now if we go back like to the build from a year ago or a half a year ago, it's like so different. We're like, how could have been like proud of this? Like this looks so shit. Like
Yeah.
it's like they're nice pictures, but everything is like really like you cannot read the text bubbles. They're like super like thin and really like long in this sense. Like it's like two words like next to each other for like 40 lines. So it's like what were we even thinking about?
Yeah, so lots of iteration, but
Yeah, but nothing like that we have like changed something like totally to a different thing.
yeah, and I feel like the things we have in the game are so time tested because it's based on D&D and Disco Elysium, which was a huge hit. So there's not like in terms of mechanic. Of course, the like art style and the story are our own, but in terms of mechanics and like technical stuff, there isn't that much like new stuff. It's very much time tested. Like stories in itself is something that people have been reading for a pretty long time.
Well, right now, I'm assuming this is all volunteer, and we're hoping that this is what's going to be the success to make you guys continue forward. If you have a number that you guys need to basically break to basically say, okay, we made it and we can continue. And if it doesn't hit that, what does that look like? for you guys' future?
Yeah, I feel like we're gonna continue no matter what, because from here it's gonna get easier. Like, if we break with this game, it's gonna be basically a miracle. Like, it statistically it doesn't happen. So just shipping the game in itself will be a huge success. Of course, we hope for it to make some money so we can buy food and all that. But yeah, like I said already, the next game is gonna be so much easier. Kind of like approaching publishers that we have one game out and can actually prove that we can ship a game. So yeah, for me at least, like the putting the game out is the biggest success, and everything else is a plus.
Yeah, I agree. Like a success would be like getting the game out there and then being able to pay our salaries. That would be great. But if that doesn't happen, we'll still just continue on making another game. Like, I think this is the path that we have like chosen now, at least to do for now. And if this game doesn't make it, the next one will, hopefully.
Yeah, like the Finnish
know-
successes we have here, like Angry Birds, you maybe know.
Mhm.
Yeah. So I think they had made over 10 games before that.
Yeah, or 10, 20 or something. It was a really big number. And then they just hit the like one like mega success. And now
Yeah.
there's theme parks here with Angry Birds.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So I think just keep at it, and
You're absolutely right. Like, for sure, the next thing, the success is launching and shipping the game and getting some players and being like, that's great. Especially the first time out, you're like, okay, we did it. Now the next one you look at is like, okay, now let's up it a little bit. Now we want to make a little bit of X, want to make a little bit something. Let's do this, and then cut the development time in half or something like that, or keep it the same length, but you're able to do more this time because of the less work you have to do on the front end on building those foundational systems and things like that. You can add more, I don't even know, visual flair or different artists or something like that to, or even get a license for something, a really popular genre of something, like a license and that type of thing.
yeah, you get better at every aspect of game making. So it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be in some terms easier every game you make, because like marketing is a skill in itself that we didn't have, that we are learning now. So we don't have to start from zero with the next game, and this has been going okay. So the next game maybe goes like super well.
Yeah, hopefully. And I like agree that the next game will be easier, at least in that sense that we know what to expect. Because this was such a like a dive into the deep end, like no idea what like it takes, like what game making takes. So we know now at least like what we need to do to make this kind of game, and like how to use Unity, like what is scripting, like what's an animator, like
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
all those things. But of course, if we can be more ambitious, and if we just try to make something bigger, of course it's going to be harder in that sense, but we know what to expect. So
yeah.
that's one of the main big things for me, at least.
Yeah, of course there will be new things, but at least we don't have to start from zero. So that's something to look forward to.
Well, we're at just about an hour. I think we covered it. Unless there's anything that you guys want to specifically talk about, we can do a little bit of an outro, and you guys can tell me everything about your game, when to get it, where to find it, where to find you guys. Just give me all the information about Paradigm Island.
Yeah, so should we jump into that outro part now, where we kind of wrap it?
Unless there's anything else that you guys wanted to talk about.
Well, is there anything you have in mind?
Well, not exactly. I think we have like talked about a lot of the things that at least I was like thinking about that we could maybe talk.
Yeah, I think me too.
Yeah, one of the biggest thing is that like it's like how much there is apart from developing a game in actually developing a game, like how much it takes or how much like other stuff it like involves with. Like, that was one of the main things that like caught us off guard, and everybody says it. Like if you ask anybody like who has published a game, like of course it takes a lot of other stuff than just making a game, but still, I don't know how we also were.
It's
like,
in the
okay,
details. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely in the details. You see a game and you're like, oh yeah, naively almost looking at it as like, yeah, let's do that. That looks cool. And then once you start to build, you're like, oh my god, I need this. I need sound. Like one of our biggest issues is we need to sound. We're severely lacking on sound, and when you play a game, sound is is so important in a game because it's the immersion and it can add the emotion. And there's so many things that just affect you when you play a game that you don't realize when you don't have the sound and compared to when you have the sound. But I digress. It is in the details. You don't realize how much goes into it. And that's why I've used that analogy. It's not just making a painting or something like that. Not saying that those are easy, but when you make a painting, you know exactly, it's just you're making a painting. Well, this is making a painting that has sound, that has tactile feedback that the people can interact with. Then it's also then selling it and marketing it to a mass audience. It's like, there's so many components and pieces that you don't realize until you actually decide to start making it, which is hilarious. You don't realize it, and then you get your feet in there and you're like, oh God, we bit off a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And even though people tell you about it, it's that there's so much you have to experience for it to click, like what they meant when they said it.
Yeah.
Some of the mentors, like, about all this stuff we've talked about, like the business side and marketing and like all that, like people get sick and all those unexpected things that tend to happen. Like if you're making something for many years, there's going to be so much unexpected stuff that just is out of your control.
For sure. Shoot your outro. Let me know everything about Paradigm, when you guys expect it to come out, Steam Fest, festivals, demos, and everything that people can do to try and find it.
Yeah, so the game is Paradigm Island. It's an narrative RPG. It's coming out on Steam. It's playable on Steam Deck. It's coming out at the end of June. And when is the next fest that we are taking
It's
part?
also on June. I can't remember the dates, but it's like in the middle of June or somewhere around that.
Yeah.
So that next fest, and the demo is out now. You can go play it, and we have a community Discord. If anybody has any questions, like directly for us about the game making journey, like you can come there, ask us. We are happy to answer like all the questions, like outside of just our game. Or if anybody has any questions about our experience, then
we've got
to join.
Yeah, we've got so much help from like people that know more than us that it would be nice to like pass that out forward. If someone is even like thinking about coming with their own game and starting something like this, then we are happy to answer that.
But
other game devs are very supportive. I've noticed everyone's very supportive.
Yeah,
we all want to succeed.
Weird.
We want everyone to succeed.
Yeah, I guess that's how we come up with this thing. Like, we are game developers, you're a game developer. Like everybody just wants everybody to succeed.
Yeah, I think the good side of like games is that it's so huge of a business that everyone can fit there. Like at least us indies, like it's not taking anything from anyone if there's one more game.
1,000%. There is so much room for everyone to fit. And I think if someone has your exact idea and it does well, like I know now we did the outro, but now there's something else I wanted to say.
Sure.
But this is just like even in the business side of it too, but like it translates when coming up with like an idea. If you see your idea more or less and it did well, people might feel discouraged, be like, oh, well, then my idea has already been done. And there's no reason to do it. It's like, no. Listen, that means there's a market for your idea. That means there's people interested in your idea. And just because they came up with, not every single idea is exactly the same. And so that means go for it. That means you can do this and it could be successful because you actually see that people are interested in that type of product. But
that's absolutely true. And I feel like any hit game you pick, like any, it's been done before to some extent, like the idea, if you like boil it down to the idea, but it's been executed better or just a tiny bit differently. So like you said, it doesn't matter.
There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
I believe that's in the Bible.
Yeah. And I think even if you try to like copy something to a T, like exactly, it's gonna have your kind of DNA in it. And it's gonna be different, for better or worse. But it's gonna be its own thing anyway.
Absolutely. Well, right on, guys. What about your socials? Do you guys have social platforms that people can come follow you and watch kind of the progress of the game and things like that?
Yeah, it's Paradigm Island in like almost every social, like X, Blue Sky, YouTube, Reddit,
Instagram.
yeah, TikTok, LinkedIn. Like there's like I guess almost every social we are there.
Yeah, the Discord we are most active on. Like that's our main source of, or most active
Yeah,
social, I think, and it's I personally like it the most, where you can like talk in real time and have an actual chat.
Well, right on, guys. I'll end it there, and cool. It was nice talking to you.